Hi and welcome back to Sven's Bricks. I've had a few comments about the Speed Champions videos that I've been doing, especially the conversion video, and a few requests for the other cars in the series. So I thought that I would tackle one more for you. Thank you very much to all the people that have liked and subscribed, especially to those that have commented. I really appreciate the feedback and the comments. I'm going to do my best to have a look at one more today. So in my last video, I looked at the Porsche 911, converted that one from a 6 to an 8 stud, and I think some parts came out really well. I think that the length is good, and I think the spoiler and the back end looks pretty good. This bit here is not perfect, but I think at least for now I'm pretty happy with that, and ideally I would have had another rounded red piece to go in there, but I don't have that. So maybe one day I can get my hands on that, but right now I don't have that. And then also at the front here I have, I'd rather have this in black, to be honest, to finish off the nice black line along the side of it. And then finally the headlights are a little bit small looking at it from the front here. But I think that, you know, it's the best of both worlds really. I don't see that there would be any other way of doing it. If you put larger dishes on it, it's just going to look goofy, I think. So I think I'm generally pretty pleased with the way that it came out. If any of you have suggestions for other things that I could do to improve it, please let me know. But I've had some nice comments so far. So I've kept 3 more of the 6 stud wide, and I've actually sold the rest of them that I had because I just don't think that they are as nice as these 3. At the time I felt that they looked good when they were released, but really comparing with the 6 stud wide cars, they do look dated, I think. I think the Mustang is just way too narrow. I think it looks pretty nice from the side, but it's just way too narrow. And the same goes for the F40. It looks good from the front, but the dimensions are just off. It's just too narrow. I think the only one that sort of survives is the Mercedes AMG. I think that the dimensions are actually still okay on it, but I think it's going to look even cooler as an 8 stud wide build. So I'm actually going to tackle the F40 today first, mainly because it's the one that I like the most, and I think I could probably improve the most. The only bits that I'm a bit concerned about are these vents, and start trying to find a way to get those central in an 8 stud wide build in a way that's going to look good. And then also the headlights as well. I'm a bit concerned that they're going to have the same syndrome as the Porsche, and that they're going to be too small once I extend the width. But I will also be extending the length of the F40 just like I did with the Porsche. So I'm going to begin by tearing it apart, mainly from underneath, to have a look at how I can get this extended both width and lengthways, and I will come back to you shortly. So the very first challenge here was that the 6 wide car comes with these 4 wide wheel pieces which hold the wheels on, and I actually don't have any 6 wide ones left, so that was the first issue here. And I think that the best way of solving that, at least for now, is just going to be with the 2x1 bricks with holes in. I have chosen different colours for them because I couldn't find matching ones, but I don't think that will matter because you won't be able to see in anyway. Now the next step here is that I don't particularly want to pull the instruction manual back out because it's buried deep in a box. So I'm not going to pull the whole thing apart in one go. I'm just going to lift the front of it off. You can just attach it here, which gives me just this small piece to work on while I keep the structure intact for the back half. I also did this with the Porsche just to make sure that I don't lose the original design too much and that I remember what's going on here. So from here I'm now going to pick off the wheel arches and see if I can find a good way to extend the width of the front here. So I've managed to dismantle the front part. I've pulled this off and I'm going to put in an extra stud at the front, 2 studs at the front here, so I'm going to pull this bit apart. And then I've also pulled this off and it's one piece, as I plan to keep it like that. And then also this bit, which I probably will end up splitting. So this is now the inside of that front piece. And as you can see, I've put a grey stud on the side there because I didn't have any black ones, but it doesn't matter because you won't see it. I've replaced what was a 2 plate with a 4 plate, and I've replaced what was a 4 plate with a 6 plate. And then I've also added a white bracket in the middle here and a black bracket in the middle there, which basically allows me to extend the width by 2 studs. So I should now be able to put some of the red bits back on. So I've run into my first real issue here, which is that once I've put these red bits back on, I noticed that in order for this to be red all the way up to the edges, I need to put an 8 wide tile onto there. And obviously I don't have one with this nice sticker on, so I have the choice of leaving the 6 on or putting a blank red on, because I'm not about to start moving that sticker. So I think I'm going to leave the 6 stud on just for the time being until the model is finished, and then I may replace it or even order a sticker pack for it. But that's the first issue that I've found. But I can already see that the headlights are going to look a bit small. But anyway, there we go. So just to show you now as well, that this piece is going to need to be extended, of course, 2 studs either side, and I need to find some cheese slopes and a couple of tiles, a couple of plates to fill those gaps there. So that will be the next bit. I put a 2x4 plate on the inside there. I put a new sloped piece here. Thankfully it was my last one in red, and then I replaced this half-studded tile with a totally studless tile because I didn't have 2 of these. But I think if anything, it'll just make the look a bit cleaner. So that just fits in nicely there. Oh, and then lastly, I replaced the half-studded black tile with a 2x4 plate on the bottom there. So that fits in nicely there. I'm now going to start to have a look at how it's going to look with the rest of the car. This is probably a good place to start looking at the overall length of the car. You can see straight away it's going to be too short. And I actually think that I need to add the stud here because it looks a bit too close to have the steering wheel at this point. The steering wheel needs to be 1 stud further to the left of the screen right now. So I'm going to try to add in an extra stud here as I work on the middle section of the car. And the way I'm going to start by doing that is actually by pulling out this piece. This piece is what connects the front to the back, or at least it's an extra part that connects in the bottom here. So it goes in like that, and it connects there with those studs on the side bracket. So I'm going to need to double the width of that, of course, but I'm also going to add an extra stud here. The reason I thought of this is because this is a 3 long plate here, and it's a bit awkward to find something that's going to work as a 3x4. I'd have to use 2 3x2 plates there. So I thought maybe I'm going to try here to add the extra stud at this point and then work my way around that. So I'm going to use a 4x4 plate instead of these 2 3x1 plates here, and see how we get on. So here's how that finished piece looks. Basically I've added the 4x4 plates as I mentioned, and a yellow bracket at the front because I didn't have any red ones left. I've added a 2x4 plate there, I've recycled the 2x2 plate there, and then I've put in these pieces on the side here because when you extend it a brick, you put it in there, that needs to clip in there in order to keep the model strong. And then all you do is just finish it off with 2x4 tiles instead of 2x3 tiles, and then we basically have a wider version of what we had before. These grey bits used to sit on top of these light grey bits. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to pull apart this section of the car from the sides and start connecting it onto here and see what's missing that I need to fill in. So this is actually going to probably be the biggest challenge of this build, is that this car comes with one of these pre-built pieces for car building. And I don't have any of those in a 6 wide, so I'm going to have to find a way to build my own. So that's the next part of this, which is probably going to be a bit of a challenge. So I think I'm going to try and build a 6 stud version of this by hand using plates, and then I'm going to start transferring the pieces over to that. So let's see how I get on with that. So here's what I've come up with. I created a new base. which is 6 studs wide using 1x6 plates and a 2x6 plate on the bottom. And then I've added on either side a 2x4, whereas the old one had 2x3 there, because I think I'm going to want the extra stud here and then maybe here as well. I may end up replacing one of those at least for the 2x3s, but that's what I'm going to start to build the rest of, or I'm going to start to place the rest of the pieces onto, and then see how we go from there. Okay, well, I've realized that that's not going to work because this piece is a bit more specialized than I realized that it was. So I've ripped apart my Ferrari for now, and I've ordered some new of these pieces from Bricklink, but I'm borrowing this one from the Ferrari until they arrive so that I can continue. The only thing I see now that is going to be an issue is that this piece has these studs on the side bits here. This is one of the new Speed Champions pieces for the 8 wide cars. And the original Ferrari F40 doesn't have studs on the side here. It's actually built up here, so I'm going to have to see how I put that together. But I think I'm going to base the new version of this, or of this rather, on this instead, so that, because I actually want a figure to fit in here as well. And here's my progress on this. Not entirely sure that it's working, but I'm going to carry on a little bit. It looks to me like the front is a bit too high and the back's a bit too low or something, but I think in order to confirm that I need to carry on building here for a minute. What I've done is that I've added in an extra one of these as a seat, and then I've pulled off the sides to start with, just this bit here to start with, and put that on the side. I'm going to fill in this afterwards. And then I've put these wheels on, and the wheel arches on top. This is currently loose, but it will be fixed in place once I've finished. And then I've put these on from the spoiler off the back. There was a 6 wide spoiler on the back there. Obviously I need an 8 wide now to go on there, or an 8 long rather. But I just put those on there to remind me that the car actually extends out a bit further than that. Now this is the last bit from the original model, which is going to go in, and I think I'm more or less going to keep that as it is. I'm going to move these out a stud here and put in some extra red bits in the side, I believe. I'm going to try that out with the slopes there, but then basically just a case of then filling in the gaps here, I think. Okay, since my last pause, I actually realised that there was a couple of things here that I hadn't taken into account. First of all is that the large piece at the bottom has this extra bit on the side, which the 4x piece doesn't have. So this one doesn't have the studs on the side. So I hadn't really factored in that. So I've actually had to remove these completely, and they were throwing off the whole model because then there's this lip here as well. So it took me a little while to figure out what was going on there. But I'm going to have to rebuild these sides with a completely new design. But at least I now have a square and straight car, so the base chassis is starting to look a bit better now. I just have a little bit of work to do to make sure that the bricks line up properly. As you can see up here, they're not lining up properly. I need to pull this back out, lift this whole chassis part up, and then we should be good to go. Okay, I've made a couple of changes to the back now, which I'm actually feeling pretty happy about. I've first of all doubled the size of the windscreen at the back, because looking at the original car, it was way too small with an 8 stud build. So I've moved these out, and I've removed the additional slopes that I put in, and I've doubled the length or the width of the windscreen. It is an issue with the sticker here, but I think I'm going to leave that as it is for now at least, because there's not really an alternative unless I start to build bricks there, in which case they would be very square. So at least for now I'm going to leave that. And then I've also worked on the back. I've doubled the width of where the number plate used to be. I've removed this piece completely, and unfortunately I've lost then the sticker in the process. But I may, as I said, order a sticker pack to put in the license plate there. I've doubled the width of the bit at the bottom here, so that there's a bit more black space in here with the exhaust in the middle. But I think the back looks really good. It looks just like the original car, the actual real car. So we're nearing the finishing line here now. It's mainly just filling in the sides here, which I'm going to have to do a completely new design for, and then working out how I'm going to achieve the roof and the windshield. Okay, update on how I'm getting on with the sides here. It was also a little bit more challenging than I'd expected, and the main issue really was that these pieces that were along the bottom here just really don't work at this scale. I'm not quite sure why, to be honest, but I can show you quickly how it looks with those on there. I've only added 2 studs to the length of this, so I should only really need to add 1 of these, and it just doesn't look right. I think it sticks out a bit too far, and I've tried putting an extra plate under these pieces to bring these out more, and that just causes it for the lip to sort of disappear completely then. And I've also tried with 4 plates on the bottom, which I can show you how that looks. So like this, it may look okay from this angle, but this angle's no good. It rubs on this tyre here, and actually it's slightly higher than the whole model, so it doesn't really roll freely. So I think I'm going to compromise and scrap the lip altogether, which is a little bit of a shame because it's quite a feature of the original car, but I think it looks pretty good anyway. I'll spin it around so you can see without the lip. I think this looks pretty good anyway. So I'm just going to fill in these bits here with red plates, I think, and then I'm going to work on what I expect to be a very challenging piece, and that is the windscreen. So I've now filled in the sides, and I've put the other 8 stud Ferrari roof piece on, a windshield piece on, and I immediately feel that this is too flat here compared to the original model. And if I use this piece, it's just way too square. So I'm going to need to find a way, ideally, to make more of a slope here at the front. This is going to be definitely a bit of a challenge. It's definitely going to be a bit difficult. These pieces here, I also noticed on the original model, are actually much more central, so I need to re-centralize those and try and find a way to slope this entire front end down a bit more, because it's a bit too flat here in comparison with the original. So as predicted, the windscreen is definitely causing some trouble. I've made a bit of a compromise for the front here. I can't quite get the right slope for that. I looked at removing this plate in order to create a sharper angle going down over the whole thing, but all these pieces need to sit on this plate here, because underneath that is the bottom of these brackets here, which don't have studs, so they need to sit like that. And then on this side there is an issue because the roof piece needs to be as high as these in order to create a complete roof, which causes an issue here with the side. So this is a predicament that I'm going to have to sit with for a little while before I can figure out how I'm going to solve it. I did try swapping out these lights. I can show you quickly how that looked, and as you can see, it's comical. Doesn't look anything like an F40. So I quickly scrapped that, and in all honesty, this is probably much more of a total redesign required to get this right, especially the front, than with the Porsche. So I may not get as far as I'd hoped, unfortunately, in this video, but I'm going to work a bit more on the roof and see what we can do here. Alright, I think I finally found the piece I need, but it's in the wrong colour. I don't have this in red, but this is looking much more like what I had in mind in order to get the right shape here for the side. This is definitely still too sunk in for my liking. It's supposed to stick out at the bottom, not sink in, but I really can't find a way around it, and I can show you why. It's because of the little lip on the bottom of this 6 wide chassis piece. If only there was a way to put a tile on the bottom there, because look at how cool it looks with the tile on. That gives it the shape that it needs at the bottom there. But there's not enough space. The wheels won't turn if it's sat on the bottom there. This is much more difficult than I anticipated. This is when you realise how much respect the Lego designers deserve, because even building at a bigger scale than the 6 wide build, this is very tricky. Alright, fast forward a few days, my Bricklink order has arrived, and the model is complete, at least for this video it is complete. So as you can see, my red piece has arrived for the side. I've ended up with 2 sticker packs in the post, so I've created a nice grille for the front which stretches the width of the 8 wide tile. I've also botched together a little bit for the back window with these stickers on the side here and down here. And then I've also, if you notice from the previous shot, I've actually removed the 4 long slope at the back there, and I've replaced it with a 3 long one, and then I've added in these cheese slopes here. So I've put in a couple of plates underneath here to drop the height, and then I've put in this little cheese slope here because it removes that sharp angle that I had there before. So it's not perfect, but it's definitely better than it was. So I'm pretty pleased with that. I'm pleased with the way that the front grille has come out. The lights are definitely a bit goofy, but without doing a full redesign of the front bonnet, I don't really know how it would be possible to get that to look accurate. So I'm pretty happy with that. I would say it looks closer to an American sports car with the way that the lights are at the front than an Italian Ferrari, at least from the front. But I think it's pretty good. I think it's just as good, if not better, than the 6 stud wide version. The side, I think, looks pretty good, looks pretty accurate. I'm pretty pleased with the way that it came out. Actually, the side, the only bit here is just a lip at the bottom. And then the back, I've managed to get hold of one of the F40 stickers for the back as well. So I'm really pleased, especially pleased with how the back has come out actually. It looks really authentic actually, so I'm dead chuffed with that. Managed to get a guy to fit in, just fit in there. So you can fit one chap in there. He can't wear a cap, but he can wear a wig piece. And then you can just about get that on pretty much just as snug as some of the other Speed Champions ones. But yeah, so all in all, I'm pretty pleased with the outcome. The only thing that I may ponder on over the coming weeks is the front here. So I sort of wondered a little bit about trying to achieve something like this with something that comes around the side of the brick, just to bring that red edge in. But the original Ferrari has such a thin red piece there, I'm not sure it would look right either, to be honest. I may have a little tamper with it, and if I do, I'll give you an update video, but that's it for now. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'm going to be working on the 1968 Ford Mustang next. In fact, I've already got started while I was waiting for my Bricklink order for this car to arrive, so that video will be coming up quite soon. But yeah, let me know if there's any other videos that you would like, any other conversions that you would like. I will eventually be doing the Mercedes AMG as well, this one. But if there's any other Speed Champions or any other sets that you'd like to see me try and convert, let me know. Please do drop a like and a subscribe. It means a lot and it helps me out. And thanks for watching. Bye for now.